Patrick Hutzel from intensivecare.com with another quick tip for families in intensive care. Today I have an email from one of our clients, Jennifer, who we consulted with for quite some time, and just an excerpt from one of our consultants to illustrate how we help our members and our clients. So Jen writes, "Hi Patrick, I just got a call from the ICU doctor and he said my husband would benefit from a PEG tube and it doesn't have to be permanent. It can be removed and he can be fed via mouth as he can tolerate that as well. That would get the tube out of his nose, the nasogastric tube, which is probably very uncomfortable for him, and it's a way of currently feeding him. He also wants to do a tracheostomy, which would mean that he doesn't have to be on the ventilator anymore. And that doesn't have to be permanent either, as he can be helped to breathe through his mouth again. Can you let me know if these are good ideas, as the doctor has asked me to sign for consent for both procedures?" Right, so it's a very good question. It's a question we get all the time. This is a client in the US, and in the US, for any of you following my blog for quite some time, you would have seen that in the US, many patients in ICU are getting pushed towards a PEG and a tracheostomy if they can't come off the ventilator or supposedly can't come off the ventilator. Many of those patients could come off the ventilator if ICUs were trying harder, but they often don't. They just want to do a PEG and a tracheostomy, and they want to send patients out to LTACs in the US. So it's not a good idea to do a PEG, definitely not, because it gives the perception of a permanent feeding tube, right? And no one will bother trying getting these patients to eat and drink ever again. It is my experience. I've worked in critical care nursing for nearly 25 years in 3 different countries, where I worked as a nurse manager for over 5 years. And I've been consulting and advocating for families in intensive care since 2013, right? And we have been saving many lives with our consulting and advocacy. And you can verify that by going to intensivecare.com, having a look at our testimonial section, click on the testimonial section, or by listening to our intensivecare.com podcast, where we have done client interviews who verify the work we have done for them. So a PEG tube gives the perception of a permanent feeding tube, right? And no one will bother trying getting that patient to eat and drink again, which is horrific. Whereas a nasogastric tube has the perception of a temporary feeding tube, which means the goal is the tube will come out eventually, so people will start trying to feed a patient orally again, which makes perfect sense, and that's how it should be, right? Therefore, do not give consent to a PEG tube. There are exceptions to the rule. If someone can't come off the ventilator beyond the shadow of a doubt, but that's not where Jennifer's husband was at the time, right? Then a PEG feeding tube, we're all for it. But they are the exceptions, not the rule. Keep that in mind. Now, there's also a research study out there that PEG tubes are much more harmful than nasogastric tubes, and I will link below this video, right? So now put a link towards this video for the research study. It's not my research study. It's independent, and it just shows that what is actually documented, right? Next, Jennifer wants to give consent to a tracheostomy, and I know Jennifer's case really well. Her husband needed a tracheostomy at the time. There was no question about it, but there was actually no guarantee that he could come off the ventilator. And that's often where misconceptions come in when families have loved ones critically ill in intensive care. Just because someone needs a tracheostomy does not necessarily mean they don't need a ventilator anymore. It depends on ventilator settings. It depends on conscious state, on neurological conditions. It depends on ventilator settings, what ventilator parameters are there, what ventilation mode, PEEP, pressure support, respiratory rate, FiO2, arterial blood gases, chest x-rays, and so forth. So this is what's happening here. So you need to get a second opinion before you give consent to a PEG or a tracheostomy. You need to be able to think ahead, right? What is next if you do give consent to a tracheostomy or a PEG? Most of the time, if your loved one can't come off the ventilator beyond the shadow of a doubt, and you need to check whether it's beyond the shadow of a doubt, A tracheostomy is the right thing to do, but do not give consent to a PEG tube. Just don't do it, right? Nasal gastric tube is perfectly fine. Patients can stay with the nasal gastric tube for months on end. And chances of them going to LTAC, again, this is for our US audience, is very slim because LTACs, generally speaking, can't look after patients with a nasal gastric tube. So that is my quick tip for today. I hope that helps you understand this incredibly difficult territory. And we've helped hundreds of clients and members for families in intensive care. And that's why we created a membership for families of critically ill patients in intensive care. And you can become a member if you go to intensivecarehotline.com. If you click on the membership link, or if you go to intensivecaresupport.org directly. In the membership, you have access to me and my team 24 hours a day in the membership area and via email. And we answer all questions intensive care related. In the membership, you also have exclusive access to 21 ebooks and 21 videos that I have personally written and recorded, sharing all my decades worth of ICU nursing experience with you, making sure you make informed decisions, you have peace of mind, control, power, influence, so that you can influence decision-making fast, so that your loved one gets best care and treatment. Furthermore, I also do one-on-one consulting and advocacy over the phone, Zoom, WhatsApp, Skype, whichever medium works best for you. And I talk to you and your families directly. I handhold you through this once-in-a-lifetime situation that you simply cannot afford to get wrong. Don't walk blindly like 99.9% of families do. Make sure you get the second opinion, the advocacy that you know your loved one needs in the current healthcare climate all around the world. I also talk to doctors and nurses directly on your behalf or with you, and I ask all the questions that you haven't even considered asking, but must be asked when you have a loved one critically ill in intensive care. Also, I represent you in family meetings with intensive care teams. We also do medical record reviews in real time so that you can get a second opinion in real time. We also do medical record reviews after intensive care if you have unanswered questions, if you need closure, or if you are suspecting medical negligence. And all of that you get at intensivecarehotline.com. Call us on one of the numbers on the top of our website, or simply send us an email to support@intensivecarehotline.com with your questions. And if you like my videos, subscribe to my YouTube channel for regular updates for families in intensive care. Click the like button, click the notification bell, comment below what you want to see next, what questions and insights you have from this video. I also do a weekly YouTube live where I answer your questions live on a show, and you will get notification of the YouTube live if you are a subscriber to my YouTube channel, or if you are a subscriber to our intensivecarehotline.com email newsletter at intensivecarehotline.com. Thank you so much for watching. This is Patrick Hutzel from intensivecarehotline.com, and I will talk to you in a few days. Take care for now.